obviously first start with addressing the situation that I think that we had this weekend. Just so you guys all know, obviously we take everything incredibly serious that happens and with our student athletes or our staff. And we had an issue this weekend that I'm sure that I think our administration has released a statement already that happened with Jack Del Rio on Thursday. Obviously I've been in communication on Friday with our administration. I've had some communication obviously with Jack. Have sat down with him, and he'll be releasing a statement here, I would imagine pretty shortly after the press conference, that he's going to move forward and he's going to resign and move on. You know, but it's a tough situation, decisions that all of us have to be able to take full responsibility for, and so that's what Jack will do, and we'll continue to move forward. None of he nor me or anybody in our athletic department wants to take away the distractions or have a distraction from what the task is at hand. Right, we've got a few weeks left in the season, a lot of things to continue to fight for, and nobody wants to take away from that. And whether it's me or Jack or anybody within our football program, so we'll move forward from that, and now we can focus ourselves on the things that are really at hand here with the #1 team in the country coming in. With an incredible opportunity in front of us, and an opportunity and a chance for us to continue to climb the mountain that we've talked about, do the things that we want to be able to do, and finish this thing in a way that everybody will feel really good about, especially those older guys, those seniors. I always use the Hunter Wohlers and the Jack Nelsons and those guys, that are inside that locker room that take an incredible amount of pride in all the things that we do. But it's gonna be a challenge, and I think that's the thing that we got to make sure we stay focused on.
Questions?
Luke, the last couple of weeks, the first down has been kind of a boom or bust play for you guys. Been either a big play or zero or negative. How do you get that kind of even back out in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think there's a lot of that. I mean, we obviously is a good opportunity in the bye week to study some of those things. And everybody talks about the money down and third down. And truthfully, as you look all back at it, first down is the most important thing, is getting that thing started. And so there's some things we got to do. We got to have better balance. We got to find ways to make sure that we can loosen some people up, and sometimes that means taking some shots with those things and feeling confident about, even if you are in that 2nd and 10 situation. But are all things that we had a chance, at least this last week, to kind of look at and address and find some ways for us to move forward and get better at.
Jim?
Luke, did you, considering the way that things went in Iowa, did you consider any major changes during the bye week?
Oh yeah, lots of them. Are we tough enough? Are we physical enough? Are we, those are the changes that we need to make sure. We need to look in the mirror and make sure that we can, address ourselves and have and sometimes a self-check of things that happen. Nobody likes it. Like we said afterwards, right? I mean, we're gonna flush this thing behind us and move on, but there's an ownership in it as well. And so if you don't take ownership in it, all the things that happen, then you can't get better from it. So I think it's more of just making sure that we all understand the things that happen. How do we move forward? That's the ownership. I don't changes wise, meaning like, we got to stop the run better. We've got to, be better on first down, as we've talked about. There's things we have to handle better, whether it's, environments, and then really the ability to make some adjustments and come out the second half and be who we really are. And I think, I know we haven't had a chance to talk since then, but that's probably the thing that, of anything that you look back at and say, well, the second half wise, we didn't show who we are. And, there's some, obviously on a bye week, there's some opportunities for you to self-evaluate. And I think that's what we made and challenged everybody to be able to do.
Mark?
Luke, when you got a guy like Rico, who's playmaker on defense, but it doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of opportunities over there. One, how frustrating is that, from a coaching standpoint, and are there some things that can be done to try to
ask them to try to throw
yeah, I mean,
it his way?
Yeah,
I think you could send them a memo, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
But once you got, like a lot of the things that we've even evolved in this year tried to give some, some freedoms to, put Rico in some positions where he can play, a little bit more aggressive and not just in zone coverage, but in his ability to, read and react and make some plays. there hasn't been as many things. I know we're all kind of focused on maybe the last week that we played, that was a different situation. But, I mean, sometimes you gotta look at it and say that the best thing that, you know, the most respect people can show to you is that they don't take a ton of shots at you, you know, and sometimes it doesn't feel as good, right? I mean, the stats don't show, you know, people can get frustrated, whether it's, you know, Rico in general or you know, even us, like, right, why can't we get him out involved? Well, you know what, sometimes people just maybe don't take as many shots then, and that's out of respect. And so that's a part of, you know, that self-eval, that's a part of, you know, putting yourself into a check situation to make sure you stay focused, right? Because the number one thing that can happen, especially at that position, is if you lose focus, now the shots really do start to come. And I think in the long run, it'll vote well for Rico as people watch. If it's really about, hey, I don't know if I have the stats or the 7 picks I had last year, you know, what are my opportunities to continue to grow and to play at the next level? Well, people see when people don't take as many shots at you, and sometimes you just gotta take pride in that, and as disciplined and as solid as you can play, that maybe they don't take as many shots.
Jesse.
What do you need to see offensively specifically over these next 3 games to have confidence in this specific system moving forward?
I think it's a growth. I think it's still continuing to see the progression of what it is that you're doing, right? We all can, you've got what you've got, and I think that when you can find ways to, whatever you have to do with what you have, is what's important, right? I mean, we've had some wideouts that have been dinged up. We've had some tight ends that, you know, that make it a little bit limited, you know, based on, you know, availability, you know, with Riley twisting his ankle, and how much can you put 2 tight ends on the field when you don't have as much health in those positions. But to see the progression, to see those guys finding a way to continue to grow and being able to evolve with all that we have, right? That's, to me, the most important thing. And that's my challenge after last week, you know, on a bye week. There's a lot of things we did, but the challenge is to say, okay, this is what we've got. You know, this isn't the NFL. You aren't going to waiver wires and things like that. Now, how do we continue to push forward with what we've got, put them in a position to see that their growth is happening?
Steve.
Just wondering, you have Pius from William & Mary, and I see you're from Grand Valley State. I'm just wondering, when you're seeing someone in the portal from a Division II school, or primarily an FCS program, how common is it that you find somebody who's able to make that jump to the Power 4 level, and how are you able to kind of figure that out when they're...
Oh, you don't know. I mean, right? I mean, I to be honest with you, a lot of the things, the old ways, right? I mean, when it was not the transfer portal, but it was grad transfers, the most success we had were guys that were coming from, you know, some smaller places, so to speak, whether it was divisions or even schools or leagues, that wanted more. And sometimes you find those guys that are incredibly hungry, as opposed to, you know, maybe somebody that, you know, that's moving laterally, and they're moving laterally for a reason, whether they, you know, couldn't get it done where they were, maybe didn't have the work to do it. But in my history, a lot of the successes that I've seen are some of those guys that have moved up. You know, we've had a bunch of them when we were at Cincinnati, whether they came from guys from Rhode Island, guys from the MAC, that were incredible successes, guys from HBCU, that were draft picks. So you don't know. I mean, again, in this process that you get to know somebody in 4 or 5 days, you know, you try to take an educated guess on what is happening and what can happen. Elijah Hill is another one, and he's had some pretty good success for us this year, and it's been more than maybe anybody had assumed.
Nick, and then Colton.
Look, Christian Allegro had, you know, a young career high 16 tackles against Iowa, a couple tackles for loss of sack. Just where have you seen him kind of grow since last year? How does his physicality impact that role?
Yeah, no, Christian is a bright spot from the last few weeks, and he's really coming on. Christian, I would tell you is a guy that probably didn't play a ton of football. Not that he didn't play football, but, you know, he was a lacrosse guy. He was, you know, a post-grad guy from the East Coast that you kind of had, you know, curious as to, hey, this guy's got a lot of potential. He's going to continue to grow, and when the opportunities come, like I think last week was the most he had played, or 2 weeks ago was the most he had played in a game, and you see how, you know, his production has continued to grow and rise. And I just think that he's just now kind of coming into his own. He's getting more comfortable in the game. He's seeing things a bit faster, which now allows his natural size and speed and athleticism to be more of a factor. And he's doing a really good job. You're going to see more and more of him. You know, and you know, he's a guy that, like you said, that we're gonna rely heavily on it as we make this push these last few weeks.
Colton, and then you give it to Mark when you're done.
Luke, back to the secondary a little bit. Obviously, you know Oregon's a team that throws the ball really well, has a really good quarterback. Just how confident are you in the guys you have in your secondary, the experience that they have going against this team?
That they're gonna be challenged, you know, in different ways, and that's the beauty of college football, right? You can be challenged each and every week in a lot of different ways, and this one be one that maybe we haven't seen really the entire year. The ability for them to throw the ball down the field, the dynamic of the wide receivers that they have, obviously the quarterback and the ability for him to make plays both with his feet and in the air. So they're gonna be challenged in many ways. We got the utmost confidence, right? I mean, we talked about Rico here earlier. You know, there's gonna be a lot more opportunities this week for him to be in positions to, you know, have a chance to make some plays. And he's gonna be challenged, there's no doubt, in a lot more ways. And, you know, so that's you know, on them a little bit and on us as well, but one of those things that excites you about playing a game like this, that, you know, hey, we believe guys that we've got that are really good football players. They're gonna be put in some positions to be challenged, and you know, I got the utmost confidence they'll step up to the challenge.
Mark.
Luke, just Bryson Green, just, you know, with the week off, is he?
I don't
how
know.
you feeling?
I mean, he's getting closer. You know, he's been available the last 2 games, but hasn't, you know, really been able to go. And in some ways, you're trying to protect him from himself. Bryson's a kid that goes out every single day and practices hard. And us as coaches, and you love those guys, right? But you got to save them. You got to protect them from themselves because he wants to do it. He wants to be out there. We'll see. I think that we'll get a better glimpse of as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. You know, he did a little bit more this past week. Hopefully that the bye week will give him a little bit more of an opportunity to feel better and better. And can he go out there and you know, play at the highest level? You know, we still got to see.
Luke, when you look back at the film from the Iowa game, the run defense.
Yep.
What went wrong for you, especially when you guys were in your setbacks, the 2 defense linemen too?
Yeah, you know, we obviously there's a lot of things that went wrong. You know, when you can't control the line of scrimmage, I think it starts there, right? Give them some credit. They did some things, getting on crack blocks and you know, taking 2-for-1s on some things that cost us some big plays on a couple counters early in the game. You know, but what it comes down to is physicality. It comes down to, you know, people talk about like getting penetration and creating negative yardage plays. In a game like that, you gotta be square, you gotta be sound, you gotta be strong. You know, really just kind of owning the line of scrimmage, and that's, you know, really where it started. And you know, things kind of snowballed and you know, didn't get any better in the second half. You know, and then that's when the bigger plays, you know, kind of started to happen. And then obviously the quarterback hurt us as well. So all things that, you know, not that we weren't prepared for, that we just didn't do a good enough job at executing.
Rohan?
Coach, you guys have already had a couple top 5 opponents come to Camp Randall this year. When it comes to a game like this after the Iowa game, does the messaging to the team change, or do you look to stay?
No, I think one of the good things about having a bye week is you can get some of those things behind you, and you know, so that's behind us now. Now it's moving forward and recognizing the challenges in front of you and the opportunities that you have as well, and you continue to remind them that this is what we signed up for, right? We recognize that this league and college football in general is evolving and changing and growing, and this is what you play for. These are these opportunities that whether anybody gives you much of a chance, you have every opportunity to go out there and earn the respect that you want. And so I think that's kind of the message for us, right? As we continue to push forward, we know that this is a process. It's not always the easiest thing in the world. Everybody wants it. I want it. We want it now. We had this expectation, but the process is still moving forward. Whether it's how do we continue to grow offensively, how do we grow defensively, how do we grow as a culture, how do we attack weeks and games and situations like this, how do we handle, you know, a situation like a couple weeks ago. Like, those are all things that, you know, a lot of us are continuing to learn about each other, and all are things that, you know, we've got to be able to grow through. And this is just another great opportunity for us to do that.
Over here with Jake.
Luke, I know you're focused on Oregon, but there are signing periods coming up soon, and with the week that, having an extra week off per se,
Yeah.
that like just how is that the early signing period bumping up affected your strategy and even just what you had to do last
I don't
week?
know that it changes the strategy. I mean, we all have been in these situations, right? I mean, as you get closer to that wire, things heat up a bit, right? The kids that you've had for a long time, you know, that people still continue to hammer at them and things like that. So it was good for us this past week to be able to have a chance to get out and look guys in the face and be around guys. But I don't know that it changes, right? I mean, whether it's 2 weeks ahead, 3 weeks ahead, you know, the early signing. Most of your work is not done, but your commitments and things are done in the summer, and the work is done in the spring. And then it's the ability to, you know, not just to hang on, but to continue to build those relationships. After that is going to be the unique part of college football that is coming. You know, not that it hasn't been different the last few years with transfers, but the whole idea of, you know, going to a 105 and roster management and, you know, what does that really look like is, I think, going to be even a different off season for a lot of people.
Thank you, Carly.
Hey Luke, I'm just wondering, do you like these night games? I know you've had quite a few this season, and how do you manage it on a Saturday, waiting all day for these huge games?
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world. I know that environment, atmosphere, once the ball's kicked off is awesome. There's some things that we're able to do with getting guys here, you know, in the recruiting, you know, part of the game. But it is difficult. It is difficult sitting around and waiting all day, and you know, I'm not one that's going to enjoy watching football during the day because there's so many things that are in your head and are going on. But we also don't get a choice. You know, we don't get to pick and choose. And when you have, you know, a league like we do, and you know, been in a position like this with the #1 team in the country coming in, you just got to recognize that this is what the opportunity is, and we got to find ways to handle it and handle it better.
Last two, Jim and then Colton.
There's some curiosity about how these new Pac-12 teams would do coming into the league. I know talent kind of overrides everything, but is Oregon built a little bit like a Big Ten team? Is that maybe what's helping them adjust?
I don't know. I mean, I'd say talent is the first and foremost thing. It's hard to say. I think that as the year ends, you'll have a better chance. We'll have a better chance to kind of look back at it and say, hey, how is this? You know, because you know, there's a lot of things that are becoming factors in it. But it's kind of hard when you're in the midst of it to try to say what is one of those determining factors that is giving them an opportunity to be where they are right now. You know, depth, talent, and I think a quarterback is one of those things that, you know, it's a great place to start, no matter what league and what level that you're going to be at. And it might be in the reverse order from what I said.
Colton.
Luke, you mentioned the 105, and that's obviously a big conversation point around college football. The SEC came out and said that they're going to say limited to 85 next year. Has Chris McIntosh given you any idea what it's going to be at Wisconsin?
No, I think we're kind of in that same mold. I don't know that the Big Ten is going to be much different. I know that there's still some flexibility. By saying 85, you still have a lot of flexibility with the revenue sharing. So it'll be interesting to see how those things work, right? I mean, do you have 85 scholarships, or do you have a lot of other money that you can, you know, pay for guys that maybe technically aren't on scholarship? So there's going to be a lot of flexibility, but I think that the idea of sticking with some hard cap number of scholarships is probably where we'll be, and it's a good thing for us because I still think it allows, you know, to have some of those, so to speak, walk-on guys that, you know, are core crux of your program, but that have a better opportunity to even earn more than they ever have.
Thank you, Coach.
Good, thank you.